Hey cloud engineers, welcome back. So, you know what's harder than explaining Kubernetes to your parents?
It's building a multi cloud network that doesn't make you cry at 3 am in the morning. If you have configured AWS Transit Gateway, Azure Virtual WAN, firewall insertion, and cross cloud VPNs, you already know multi cloud networking is a bit painful.
But today we are going to talk about Alkira.
A company that looked at traditional networking and said, what if we just didn't do it that way?
Buckle up, cause we are diving into a platform that promises to turn your network nightmares into sweet dreams. Or does it? Well, let's find out.
So, what is Alkira? Well, imagine if your network went to the gym, got a makeover, learned to meditate, and then came back as a cloud native service.
Founded in 2018 by Khan brothers, Amir and Atif, who previously created Wiftela and literally invented the SD-WAN market.
So, basically, these guys have been making networking sexy for decades.
So, Alkira is what they call Network Infrastructure as a Service, or NIaaS,
Which sounds like you are ordering a network from a restaurant menu.
Yes, I'll have a multi-cloud network with a side of zero trust security, please. Now, here the big idea is instead of buying routers, switches, and crying over configuration files, you get a global network, but as a service. It's just like Netflix, but for networks. Alkira deploys something called a Cloud Service Exchange, CXS. It's basically a unified network architecture designed for multi-cloud and on-premises connectivity. Consider it as the overall network infrastructure, the whole. It allows users to build, manage, and secure their entire cloud network as a service. Inside each region, Alkira creates a cloud exchange point. We call it CXP. Think of CXP as a distributed routing fabric. This is the control plane managed by Alkira. Now, the data plane is still deployed under the hyperscalers. Consider it just as a POP location. Alkira has many POPs around the world, and they are expanding, and all the interconnected with high speed connectivity, which basically are built on the backbone of AWS, GCP, and Azure. So instead of building transit gateway in AWS, virtual WAN in Azure, cloud routers in GCP, you attach your entire workloads to Alkira's fabric. So at the intermittent level, here's what matters. Alkira handles BGP internally. You don't manage route tables manually. The segments here acts like VRF. Here consider segments as your environment such as your prod, dev test, UAT and sandbox. Policy-based routing is abstracted. So underneath, Alkira uses cloud-native constructs like Amazon Web Services, networking primitives, Microsoft Azure routing constructs, Google Cloud Platform connectivity services. But you can never directly manage them. Alright, so now let's talk about why Alkira is getting love from the Fortune 500 and making network engineers really smile.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Now, with your traditional networking, your cross-cloud network might be ready in, let's say, 4 to 5 months with proper approvals, design, security risk, everything. Now, your traditional network will look something like, if you want to connect, let's say, Azure to AWS, Azure to GCP, GCP to AWS, your traditional network will have something called as hub. Now, the hub will be connected to individual spokes, and the spokes will be hosting their respective workloads. This will be similar on the other side of the cloud as well, right? Now, in order for both of them to communicate, there will be a mediator. We call it as a third-party provider. Now, the third-party provider, both the hubs will need to connect together. Why? Because the third-party provider will be having their links connected to both the clouds, right? Third-party provider can be something like Equinix, third-party ISP, or anything. Next thing, which some persons in security love, but others in networking doesn't love, are the firewalls. Now, as per the security standards, security needs firewall at every hop of the cloud. Now, that means if they want to communicate with one spoke to another spoke, they will have firewalls. If they want to communicate from one spoke to another spoke in another region, they will have three firewalls. If they want to communicate from one spoke to another spoke in another cloud, tons of firewall, including if there are firewalls in third-party provider. So too much of firewalls in the middle. Again, now as per your organizational standards, you will have multiple clouds and multiple regions as per resiliency, redundancy, whatever you can say. Now, okay, let's say you have a cloud in US region, and for resiliency purpose, you have another parallel cloud in the UK region. You can have this in different regions as well. So next thing happens that the connections are in place. Now, what will be advertised, what will be received? That is all done through one God protocol known as BGP. Now, where you need to configure BGP. You will need to configure BGP from spoke to hub, from hub to the third-party provider, the third-party provider to hub, and from again hub to spoke. It can be dynamic, static, whatsoever advertisement you need to. Similar thing on the other regions as well. There can be scenarios where the application team says that, yeah, I just want to bring my spoke down just to test whether how resilient our network is. At that time, if your network is up to mark, then there shouldn't be any problem. If the BGP advertisements are proper, then everything should be fine. But if not, then you have to manage the individual advertisement from one region to another region and the traffic flow as well. The entire picture seems to be a big spider web. It's very difficult to troubleshoot and configure each point. Now, what does Alkira say? Like, you connect all your spokes to a single fabric. You have all your CXPs in each individual locations. Connect all the spokes to that, and Alkira will take care of the rest, the BGP, the routing part, and everything. So no mesh. I mean, within the Alkira there is a mesh, but you don't have to mesh anything within your network. No manual peering. Everything gets connected to the exchange. So basically, that's the mental model. So here Alkira claims that it has 96% faster cloud setup and 80% faster provisioning time. So this is the difference between having a dial-up modem and a fiber internet. So you might have heard of Coach Industries, right? It's a multi-million-dollar industry. What they said is that the thing which took them around 3 to 6 months, now it's taking a day to deploy. But then again, I'm thinking that in a day, how many times do you need to connect to clouds, right? Because once the setup is done, I mean, that's it, right? But just FYI, Alkira is fast in connecting two clouds. That is, if you know what you're doing. So what Alkira is claiming? It's claiming that it's 40% cost savings, 40% lower total cost of ownership, 47% less time spent on network management, and sometimes, or I can say after the deployment, your CFO might be actually smiling at you during your quarterly review. I think might. Their interface has this digital design canvas where you literally draw your network. It's like Microsoft Paint for networking, except instead of creating questionable art, you are building enterprise-grade global infrastructure. It's as simple as click, drag, drop, boom. Your multi-cloud network is ready. It has a built-in zero trust network access, ZTNA, integrated firewalls from Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint, basically all the big names. So instead of manually deploying firewalls per region, you insert firewall services centrally. The traffic flow will be now like you will have your workloads, then is your segments, we consider it as VRF, policy, firewall, again back to the end user segment, and then is the destination. You know that nightmare where you're trying to connect AWS, Azure, and GCP and they all are speaking different languages? Well, Alkira said, I'm your universal translator as I speak all the three languages. So it connects all the three major cloud with one platform. So you don't have to learn AWS, Azure, and GCP separately. Then questioning your career choices as a cloud architect. I mean, you still need to understand the basics. So here's what as a service means, right? It's not that buy our software and figure it out yourself, or it's still not that here's the agent, install it on every VM and there you have it. Or it's just like we run it, you use it, everyone's happy. It has a pay-as-you-go model. Scale up when you need it, scale down when you don't. So it's the opposite of the gym membership that you brought in January, but you never went to. Now, before you think it's a sponsored video, it's not. Let's think about where Alkira might make you want to think like, So here's the thing about as a service, right? It's amazing until you want to leave it, right? You essentially are building your entire network infrastructure on somebody else's platform. Now think in a way like, what if Alkira raises prices, or what if they're acquired, or what if they left everything and started making coffee? I mean, the last one seems a bit odd, but yeah, you get my point, right? So your network is now tied to their destiny. It's like a marriage, but with less cake, flowers, and more of a agreement. Now, notice when I mentioned that they claim 40% cost savings, but didn't show you the actual prices. That's because Alkira pricing is about as transparent as a brick wall wearing sunglasses. It's all contact us for pricing, which in enterprise world basically means hope you have budget flexibility. Now, think in a way like, why are they targeting Fortune 500 companies? Yes, they made it simpler than traditional networking, but simpler doesn't mean it's simple. Now, you still need to understand network segmentation concept, security policies, routing fundamentals, multi-cloud architecture. How to explain to your boss what are you spending your money? Yes, the interface might be pretty, but cloud networking is still cloud networking. You can't just hand it over to an intern and say that figure it out. All your network traffic is flowing through Alkira's infrastructure. That's convenient, but it also means you are trusting their security, you're trusting their uptime, you're trusting their global backbone. You are trusting that they won't have just one bad day that F's up your entire network. One Alkira outage and your whole multi-cloud empire potentially goes dark. So no pressure, Alkira. While Alkira does a lot, it might not do everything your existing network setup does. Some super specific custom networking wizardry that Dave from networking spent 10 years perfecting. That might not work in Alkira's model. You're trading ultimately flexibility for operational simplicity. Well, sometimes the trade is worth it, sometimes it's not. So they're not alone in this space. Aviatrix is breathing down their necks. AWS has Cloud WAN. Google has just launched their own Cloud WAN. Azure has their networking solutions. The big cloud providers are basically looking at Alkira's homework and creating their own version. So will Alkira multi-cloud advantage hold up when AWS, Azure and GCP decide to play nice with each other? Well, it is founded in 2018, which is enterprise terminology makes them a teenager. It's not battle ready like Cisco, which is 20 plus years. So Alkira is exciting and innovative, but it's not boring and proven over decades. Like some companies might love it, some companies may run away from it. So if you're spreading your workloads across Azure, AWS, GCP, like it's just like butter on toast, and Alkira is your champ. If you have multiple regions, multiple countries, you might be having multiple headaches. Then yeah, Alkira says, I got you. If your network engineers are spending more time troubleshooting than innovating, yes, you need to go with Alkira. When you need to scale quickly and can't wait for 6 months to provision your network, acquiring companies and need to integrate their network. So this is literally the use case that Alkira is designed for. So if your runaway is measured in months and not years, then this might not be the first solution. If you are all in for just a single cloud provider and using their own native tools, then Alkira might not be for you. Now, if you need to control every single router configuration at a hardware level, this abstraction might give you a bit of an anxiety. So if you're running a basic setup, this is like buying a Ferrari and just going for grocery shopping. So what's the final verdict of Alkira? So Alkira is legitimately solving problems, right? Multi-cloud networking is a nightmare. We all agree to it. Now, anyone who has tried to connect AWS VPC to Azure VNets to GCP VPCs while maintaining security and compliance know it's a big pain and a burden. So the good news is they're making it significantly easier, faster, and in many cases cheaper than the traditional approach. The concerning news is you're putting a lots of eggs into their basket, like paying a premium price, though potentially saving money overall. Now you can bet that it's relatively a young company and in a space where giants are starting to compete. But if you are happy with your current setup and don't have multi-cloud ambitions, then Dave is a perfect networking guy who can configure routers at 2 a.m. and still be happy with his minimum wage? Well, I was thinking that if you have proper knowledge of connectivity, I guess it's easy to set up any connectivity, being a multi-cloud, right? Because it's just a one-time setup. I mean, for everyone else, run the numbers, calculate the current networking cost, includes Dave's salary, hardware, time to deploy, compare it with Alkira, and if you see the numbers are adding up, yes, then go for that solution. Brownfield, when you already have a complex network topology, it's difficult to migrate it to Alkira. What I mean was that deploying or connecting to Alkira might take a minute or seconds, but to plan the entire process might take months. Sometimes I ask myself, what does Alkira actually solve? I mean, if it's a multi-cloud connect, I mean, then okay, but upscaling and downscaling can be done from any cloud providers. It can be an express route, interconnect, XYZ. Everyone has the bandwidth provisioning, right? Yes, you can connect to Azure, AWS, and GCP, but it might be a complex one and time consuming, but it's still doable. So I was also thinking about firewall, just like Panorama. It has a tons of granular configuration if you deploy as a hardware or software on a VM XYZ. Now it has rules, metrics, DDoS protection, and lot of config. Now I was thinking, can we do such fine granularity when it's deployed in Alkira? Now, the next thing might be an internal organizational issue, but once Alkira is deployed, who will manage it in networking team? Now, you have, if you have two cloud providers, you have AWS, Azure, you have firewalls, you have connectivity, and XYZ multiple things. So, I mean, does a single dedicated team manage all of it? So, there you have it, Alkira, the network platform that wants to turn your multi-cloud chaos into an organized symphony. Just remember, cloud is someone else's computer, and now the network is someone else's router. There you have it. Thanks for watching.